winner is Ye-kwon Sunwoo.
1 year ago, the Van Cliburn International Piano Competition, one of the most coveted in the US, produced its first Korean winner. It was pianist SUNWOO Ye-kwon. His performance was met with rave reviews by critics and media all around the world. The competition album, which carried SUNWOO's performance later, rose to top 3 on the Billboard's classical chart. Although SUNWOO Ye-kwon started the instrument somewhat later than other musicians, he began his study abroad at the age of 16 when he joined the Curtis Institute of Music on a full scholarship. After his time in the US, he is currently studying at Hanover University of Music, Drama, and Media. With concert requests pouring in, his calendar is already full up throughout the year. A rising star of the classical music world, the INNERview meets pianist SUNWOO Ye-kwon to hear the story of a young artist. There's a handful of talented musicians from Korea that the world is paying attention to. I am actually sitting down with one of them. He is the winner of last year's Van Cliburn International Piano Competition, Mr. SUNWOO Ye-kwon. Welcome to our program. Glad to,
Thank you.
to finally meet you.
Thanks for having me here. Thank you.
Now, you've performed in more than 100 times in different cities around the world just this year alone. You must be so tired. You're a very busy man. How do you get the energy going?
I guess I try not to think that how many times I played on that particular month or the season. I just try to focus on what I'm doing on that day once I arrive. And you know, sometimes when you go to the immigration at the airport, like you sometimes forget where you just came from, like when they ask you questions. So I just try to focus on like the particular moment and yeah, try to do my best. Yeah.
How do you make sure you don't get burned out?
That's a difficult question actually, and you know, a lot of musicians, they kind of struggle because you know, they play so many concerts and we are constantly traveling one place to the other and different continents, and it's very challenging. But for me at least, like I take good rest anywhere I go to, and even on the plane, I think I feel very comfortable on the plane. I have really good musician friends, so they keep me more motivated, and whenever you get tired performing or you know, traveling, things like that, because they are going through the same kind of things, so we kind of encourage each other and musically sometimes motivate you by simple talking and things like that. So I just try my best to really focus on that particular moment and bring the best out of for the audience members.
Any secret to staying in shape? How do you take care of yourself?
Oh, the Cliburn competition was last year in May, June. So it's been about a year now, and I think I lost about maybe 7-8 kilos.
Oh no! Because of the stress?
No, the thing is, because I try to eat really healthy. Like when I'm traveling, especially, I eat lots of salads, fruits, and lots of fish. I try to stay away from carbs, even though I love pastas, and it became more fit because of healthier life, even though the schedule is quite busy.
And I hear there's a special reason you're in Seoul this time around.
Yeah, this time I came last week for a few concerts, and we had a concert at Lotte Concert Hall. There were, I forget how many, but there are many amazing musicians all together, and we were all playing chamber music and like piano duos, piano trios, piano quintet, and different music groups. So that was a fun concert because, you know, we don't really get to see each other that often because we travel different cities, and it's difficult to find the time to kind of hang out be in one city together and good reunion kind of thing. And of course the audience members, they were happy to see everyone all together. Yeah.
How was the reaction from the audience? Thunderous applause?
I think it was good. They seemed to like it. It was a long day actually, because usually when you play a concert, it's in the evening, like 7:30 or 8 o'clock. And personally, I warm up, rehearse on the stage in the morning, maybe 2-3 hours, and then go back to take a rest and take a nap for maybe 2-3 hours in the afternoon, and then come back for the recital. So to play a concert in the afternoon and then stay there for the concert again in the evening, it's, even though you might be relaxing in the dressing room, it's kind of fatiguing a little bit. But you know, you get good energy from the audience members, and to play with such wonderful musicians, it was just very uplifting and happy moment.
And you share the stage this time with a fellow pianist, Im Dong-hyuk, who I believe you have a very close relationship with, and it's very interesting that you have a special friendship with another great pianist. How did that friendship develop?
I guess he started performing in Korea when he was maybe about 17 or so. So at that time I was maybe 12 or something. So I was a fan of him also. And for the first time in person, I've met him in 2009 or 10. Since then, that was the time I was moving to New York, and we somehow clicked, and we were, I guess we have similar type of interest in music, and the songs we listen to sometimes when we have a drink, like it's quite similar and similar taste. We played once together last year for the New Year's concert. It was only for like 10 minutes of one piano, four hands. And this time was two piano, four hands. And we rehearsed twice. I think he came to Korea a few days after I came, so we had 2 days to rehearse, and I think that was enough time to.
Now we have to talk about the Van Cliburn competition that you won for the first time as a Korean pianist. Congratulations.
Thank you, thank you.
How did it feel when your name was called out?
Oh,
Take us back to that moment.
yeah. At that moment, you know, I kind of sensed that I might win the first prize, because there were 6 finalists, and you know, there were cameras all around the finalists, and before announcing the first prize winner, I saw the cameras kind of coming towards me, and but I wasn't sure, because you know, there was another guy right in front of me, but then I kind of had a good feeling. So but when my name was called, I think I was all kinds of feelings, like mixed feelings, and you know, I felt like I accomplished something that I came here to do, and you know, the time that I spent getting ready for the competition and everything, it felt like it was really well paid off, and just proud and thankful. I saw the film of the over the ceremony, and I looked like I wasn't happy, but I was really ecstatic, and but I was quite emotional too. So I think that's why I look like kind of blank.
Sure.
It's something that I still remember very vividly, and I just cannot forget it.
And it wasn't your first time trying?
Yeah, it was the second time I went there. So the first time was, it's every 4 years, so I was there before. At that time I was the first alternative, so you're not sure if you will be going or not. So when somebody drops out, when somebody withdraws, then you get to go, they will ask. So I didn't know until 1 week before I go there. So I was kind of, you know, I wasn't motivated to really fully prepare, and I wasn't settled with the repertoire I'll be playing. So when they called like a week before, I was talking to my teacher, Robert McDonald at Juilliard, and I was very sure that I wouldn't do well. But if it's worth going or not. So, you know, for me at that time, I needed 100, maybe 99% of luck to get to the second, third rounds. But I was very certain that I wouldn't even get past the first round. But I just decided to go anyway because they, you know, they pay for the airfare and they give additional $1,000. So, and it's every 4 years, so I wasn't sure if I would be too old to compete for the next one or not. So I just went without thinking anything much. So, you know, when I went back this time, what I had in my mind was really to win. I had to win, because, you know, I had lots of competition experiences. I was fortunate to have won quite a few first prizes, but of course I got kicked out from many other competitions also. So, but it really doesn't matter. But for me personally, I didn't want to have any regrets that, you know, certain major competitions, because of my laziness and kind of procrastinating character at times, I didn't want to have that kind of regret. So for that competition last year in Cliburn, I wanted to do all my best, at least, to really fully prepare and get ready and hope for the best.
And you won. And you won. I believe you bought the piano of your dreams with the prize money. Tell us about that.
Yes, so I did the selection this August 2nd. The piano will be delivered a little bit later.
It hasn't come yet.
You know, also because I left right away, and I go back at the end of the month.
I see.
But you know, I never had the piano of my own, and I have one upright piano in Korea, but I always wanted to have the grand piano. People think that when you are a musician, like everyone is rich, and it's true that like you might need a little money because of the lessons and things like that. But there are many musicians who are not, who don't come from wealthy family, and a lot of them, they struggle. And for string instruments, especially, they have to have good violin, because for us, at least, like practice-wise, we will be playing something maybe a little bit less good piano, but then on the stage, we all get the same piano to play on, and good piano. But for the violinists, like they have to have some people who sponsor the instruments, or who will donate or loan.
Sure.
So it's very difficult for that reason, and a lot of pianists, they don't have their own pianos, and oftentimes they will be practicing at schools, or sometimes at some of the showroom places to practice. So that's what I was doing. Like, when I was at school, I would be going to school every day to practice, and at Manis, actually, they kind of rented out. They gave a piano for me to practice for free during the time I was a student there. So it was good to have that kind of privilege. But it was quite. I didn't cry, but when I did the selection, I was quite somewhat emotional, and it was just wonderful.
I'm really happy for you that you'll get your own piano that you can call your own.
Yeah, the baby.
The baby. Now, apart from the Van Cliburn Competition Award, you have at least 8 international awards under your belt now. What do you think sets you apart from other seasoned pianists?
There's some people who just try to be different, to be individual, but you know, as a human being, like everyone has different body types, and you know, we all talk differently, different voices, different features. You know, even the fingertips, like you know, some of them have like kind of thicker fingers and kind of fatty tips. You don't have to be necessarily playing differently to be different, but just by playing different already, because every individual is unique. What I value the most is to really respect the composers and really bring out the most such dedication, looking at the details in the score and try to really feel what they would have felt, and have strong conviction. That's the most important thing for me, and really express what you're feeling.
I see. Is there any feedback, any critique that particularly stay with you that you've heard in the past?
Nobody likes critics criticizing and reading negative comments. I think for me at least, good thing is that I get past a little bit easily. Maybe a few days, if I happen to read some negative reviews, then I will be a little bit down. But then I also easily kind of move on. So negative comments, I can't really think of anything now, but there are quite a few. I think.
Sure, but you just don't pay attention.
Yeah.
Just let them go, forget and move on. The pieces you play for international competitions must be, I'm guessing, different from the pieces that you play for recitals. How do you narrow down the repertoire? What are some of the factors you take into account?
I actually do very similar to what I would be playing in a recital program, same as competition. So when I was talking to a few friends about my competition repertoire, they were saying maybe it's not good to play those repertoires such as like La Valse, Rachmaninoff Sonata, Prokofiev Sonata, because those are a little bit of, you know, a lot of people play in the competitions, and when there are too many people playing the same things, you know, jury members, they might get too tired. They actually do. They get tired of those pieces and they just lose interest. But I didn't care about that. You know, I had strong feelings about those music, and I knew that I wouldn't do differently, but I thought that I would be different from the others, because I really believed in what I was doing musically, and every detail I had strong conviction and didn't take anything for granted. So to plan the repertoire for the competitions, of course you have to be kind of wise about it. You know, you cannot have all the same composers. Like, just because I love Schubert, I wouldn't be putting all Schuberts in every round. You have to kind of have you know, a little diverse repertoire, and sometimes you have to balance the lightness. If you have a little heavy program, you have to balance with a little bit somewhat lighter pieces to, you know, not to please the jury members, but to have the audience members, people out there listening, have full understanding of the musical experience. Because when you have such strong, heavy, substantial pieces all back to back, you know, it's difficult to really digest, and programming-wise also it's not very appealing.
Sure.
So yeah, I just try to really think the same strategy, concert programming, when you do competition repertoire and the recital program.
Sure. So what motivates you to take part in these competitions? Clearly you come out number one.
No. You know, I think it's a little bit of desperation, and you know, the passion and desire I started playing the piano when I was 8, and all the aspiring musicians, like when they're younger, I don't think there's anybody who enjoys competing or being in that kind of stressful moment. But for me, I had to do the competition because I wanted to have concert opportunities, and there are too many competitions now and so many wonderful musicians, so it's difficult to get concert opportunities. And just because you won certain competitions, it doesn't really give you anything too much. You know, last year's Cliburn Competition, they changed a lot of formats and management-wise. That's one of the major competitions, a few major competitions that really kind of guarantees a winner to really start a concert career, and they really make sure that you're you have that platform under so that you can start building up a career. So for me, even though I won quite a few competitions, I decided to do the competition last year for that reason, to get more opportunities. And before the other times I was doing the competitions, it was somewhat, I think maybe like 70-80% financial reason, because I lived in the States for 11 years and I moved to Germany. I lived there for 2.5 years now. But for the living expenses and, you know, even just to pay the rent, living in New York is quite expensive.
Sure.
And some people might say that, well, if you don't have that much money, then why didn't you go to somewhere else a little bit cheaper than you can afford? But for me, I had these wonderful, great teachers that I worked with, and they are based in that cities and those schools. So that's why I decided to stay there longer, to work with them. And for that reason, I needed more financial help, and that's why I did the competitions.
I believe some of these competitions have an age limit of up to 30, and you are approaching that age day by day, if I may remind you. How do you feel?
Like I said before, good thing for my character is that, not that I'm careless, but I try not to think too much about certain things. You know, some people, when they get older, they make too much, they give too much thoughts about it, and they get depressed, or, but for me, I sometimes forget about my age. Like, sometimes I have to think like how old I am. I'm 29 years old now, 30 in Korea, I guess. But, you know, every year as I get older, what I think is just to keep improving and doing, not losing the passion that I have for the music. And nothing is different. Like, you know, every year your body might feel different, but mentally I feel the same. When I first left Korea to go study abroad when I was 15, and still kind of the same.
Compared to other child prodigies who may start to play the piano at the age of 3, 4, you started quite late at 8. Yes,
second
and
grade.
so how were you attracted to the instrument in the first place?
I don't come from musical family background, but I have 2 older sisters who played the piano when they were younger. You know, parents, they kind of want them to experience different things, and they want them to be pianists, like ballerina, or like many different things. But for me, since I was the youngest, my mom wanted me to just hang out with friends, and you know, you can worry about your life later. So I wasn't doing anything at all, but of course I listened to them playing the piano. They only played for 1.5 years, but I think that kind of made me feel like, you know, it looks like it's fun playing the piano. And so I think I asked my mom that I want to learn play the piano, and I think she didn't really take anything seriously. So like, she just sent me to this piano academy. But I had a wonderful teacher who made me feel like it's fun playing the piano, and I was fascinated by being in that place because so you're surrounded by other kids who are playing different repertoire, and I was an extremely shy kid, so I couldn't ask what the piece, what they were playing when I fell in love with those music, and so I just went to look for those music, like look through all the scores to find that piece, and then once I found it, I was very like over the moon, and
Some of these child prodigies, they have their musical influence from their mothers and fathers who are from the musical background. For you, it's a different story. So I want to know, who was your role model? Who pushed you forward?
I don't think anybody pushed me forward, but I felt like right from the beginning, the connection with the piano and the music, it was something that I felt like I would do. I wasn't sure if I will make a living out of it, but this would be what I would be doing for the rest of my life, hopefully. And of course, to continue doing so, you need some financial help. So for that reason, I was quite desperate when I was studying, and that's why, again, did competitions. But I'm also particularly thankful for my mom, what she has done, and because she really, made us feel like we're not lacking anything. Like she never. So to have that kind of support, and also I have good friends, also have kind of similar situations somehow. It's interesting, but I think that's why you can be still happy, and you're not never let down too much. And
what was the most challenging part about pursuing a career in piano and continuing your path in music?
The most challenging, I think every time it's a little different. At this stage now, the challenging part is to really broaden the repertoire that you would be playing, and when you're playing like that many concerts a year, sometimes you're not feeling your best, your body. So to keep in good shape is very challenging. But I guess growing up, I first went to the States when I was 15, and those 6 years when I was at Curtis in Philadelphia, that was quite challenging, I think, because I wasn't much developed musically. When I was practicing certain pieces, I wasn't sure how to practice and what to bring out, and musically how to express and what to work on. So, and my teacher, Seymour Lipkin, who passed away a few years ago, he wasn't the type of teacher who would tell you directly how to do. Rather, he would be sometimes demonstrating how he would do, but not to copy. And he would suggest like listening to lots of different types of different genres of music, and go see operas and have more, connections with different cultures and cultural experiences. And those things I think helped a lot during the 6 years between young teenager and a little bit developed musician. It was very struggling because I really wasn't sure how to express. And also I think playing chamber music, that helped a lot for me to really feel how each phrase is constructed and what the feeling is about.
Let's rewind a little bit. Now, after graduating from an art school in Korea, you went to the US to study. How did that decision come about?
My teacher in Korea, she studied in the States, so I think she advised my mom that it's better if I go study abroad and to get better education, hopefully. That's why I decided to just audition, and thankfully I got into the Curtis with one exam, one audition. And
so you hold degrees from the 3 of the top U.S. Music institutions, namely the Curtis Institute of Music, the Juilliard School, Mannes College of Music. So how was it studying in these prestigious schools with top talented musicians?
It was wonderful. You know, I was fortunate to have had the chance to work with those teachers and to get to those schools. For me, I wasn't thinking about any of the school esteem. Rather, I had personal experience with those teachers before, so that I knew I would be enjoying the time that I worked with them, and I immensely respected those people as musicians. To work with them, it was quite almost like divine, actually. You know, the times you sit next to them and watch them playing, and you feel like you're on the stage, kind of experiencing every moment by yourself, which doesn't happen at all. So it was quite something. And at Curtis, I worked with Seymour Lickham for 6 years, and Robert McDonald for 2 years at Juilliard, and Richard Good at Mannes for 2 years. And I can't thank enough for what they have done. And Mr. Lipkin, he was kind of like a grandfather figure also. And sometimes I would call him after I graduated to say hi or to play for him. And I would say, "Oh, do you have time to talk for a few minutes or something?" And he would say, I don't have time, but I have some time for you now. So that was quite, yeah.
What are some of the episodes that you can share with our viewers, some personal moments that you had with these very respectable names in the music industry?
Every moment is very special, and so I can't really pick one moment. You know, the current teacher that I worked with, Bernd Gotzke at Hanover, I worked with him for 1 year, and last year I was also very busy with concerts, so I wasn't able to see him much. Whenever I go see him, he's also he plays concerts frequently, so that whenever he's in town, I have to find time to see him. And because he's away oftentimes, what you feel that moment you just cannot describe. You know, he's always very dedicated to the music, and music is his life. And you know, some people who they try to dedicate their time and to bring the most from the music, but you know, for him, it's just a part of him. Like it's, and you feel that strongly when you are with him together. And after you play certain pieces, and after the lesson, he would still hum that tunes and from the music, and he's very happy to have those music for the piano repertoire and everything, and just to experience that kind of those times right next to those teachers, it's quite special.
I'm sure. You are now studying in Hanover in Germany.
Yes.
What made you move from the US to Germany?
I always wanted to spend some time actually living in Europe, and particularly Germany. I visited there a few times before, and something about it kind of clicked. And some people say it's depressing, you know, it's kind of gray, and winter life in Germany especially, it's quite
subdued.
Yeah. But that attracted me in a way, a strange way. I felt like home somehow, even though I haven't spent much time. So I actually wanted to go to Germany even before, but I got to work with Richard Good, and so I decided to stay a little bit longer in the States to further study more. 2 years ago, it was good timing for me to move to Germany. And Bernd Gotzke, I haven't played for him, or I haven't seen him playing also, and I haven't had a chance to see a master class. But when I won the Sendai International Competition in 2013, he was on the jury member, and he wrote a long kind of comments after the competitions. Usually, oftentimes the competition committee, they ask, I think, the jury members to write a comment if they could, and they will be writing a few lines, but he wrote a long paragraph, and I really appreciated what he had said. And so when I auditioned for Hanover, I remembered, and I felt like I wanted to work with him because of the things he said I really value, and it felt like I could really trust, and I had strong respect for him. And sometimes I would ask for how this program looks like, and he's not just giving just one thought, but he really takes serious thoughts about it and give more than I would expect him to help, and it's just wonderful.
So you were on a TV program recently depicting your life, everyday life in Munich. How was that experience?
Somewhat challenging in the beginning because I'm not like a celebrity, so it's for me I'm not used to having like that many people following me all around, and the preparation and everything. But it was a just fun experience, and everyone was they had good spirit, and they were willing to be really flexible with your schedule and everything. So, and I saw a few episodes, and I think it came out well.
Did you enjoy the spotlight?
A little bit.
Good.
Yeah.
You like the Austrian classical musician Franz Schubert, in your words, because of his sad, lingering images and scent. How do you mean by that?
What I feel with his music is there's strong poignancy, which is not like crying out loud, but then it's something you cry a little inside. And it's something that just stays in your heart a little bit longer. And whenever I listen to his music, there's sadness throughout. And even if it's happy moment, still happy tune, still it's not too sentimental, but those kind of poignancy. And I love all the composers out there, but especially Schubert, it just stays a little bit longer in your heart. And that's why I kind of keep going back to him, and I guess I'm a little more precious kind of composer.
He died around your age due to an illness. If you were to go back in time and have a conversation with him, what kind of questions, what kind of conversations would you have with him? Just out of curiosity.
For us musicians, like we always value composers the most, and so for that reason, I wouldn't be able to. I wouldn't dare to. I don't think say anything at all. But if I could be just sitting even at the corner of the living room or wherever, just watching how he composes, and I guess just to be next to him. I think that's enough. And I just want to, if I could say anything, thank him for what he has left us.
Thank him. Yeah. Now, you said in past interviews that you value truthfulness and integrity. What do you think these values mean in terms of music?
For me, truthfulness and having the integrity, it's to conveying what each composer would have intended emotionally, and hopefully understanding what they have been going through at that time, and really understanding them and expressing without putting your character too much, but serving the composers. I think that's the truthfulness.
You're almost 30 now. What are some of the questions that you ask yourself, some of the concerns, some of the worries, some of the thoughts that are going through your mind at this point in time?
I think, to really keep doing what I'm doing currently, I want to do it until I die. I don't know when I'm gonna die, but for us, it's always, you never know what's gonna happen maybe in 5-10 years. In concert career, it's very fatiguing and exhausting sometimes. So that's why a lot of people, even though they were fortunate to have the concert career, some people kind of gave up, unfortunately. And but I'm hoping that I would be doing this for the rest of my life and not losing this passion even when I get 70, 80 years old, if I live that long.
I keep on looking at your hands because you're a very renowned pianist, and I'm trying to see what's different about them. Are there things that you never do with your hands because you are a pianist?
I don't think so. I try not to carry such heavy things.
Okay.
Because your fingers might injure a little bit. And I think one of my teachers, Juilliard, Robin McDonald, he once told me that I have good hands, and I guess the stereotype is when you think of a pianist, they have a little bit thinner, kind of long fingers and slimmer kind of looking. But I think I much prefer to have a little bit thicker. I'm happy with my hands, and it's actually better if you have flexible kind of fingers than like the size or the length. So if you have flexible hands and kind of thicker palm, you can produce a little bit warmer sound, I think, hopefully, naturally. So it's like I like it.
Now, you are quite a sensation now, along with Cho Sung-jin, Im Dong-hyuk in the classical world. What do you think about this phenomenon?
I'm not sure about the phenomenon, but the good thing for classical music, especially in Korean, is there are a lot of younger concert goers, and when you go to concerts in Europe or America, they oftentimes you see somewhat elderly people, which is wonderful. But we also need younger generation to be more involved and have more interest, and to see that kind of reaction in Korea, it's just wonderful. And there are many wonderful, great musicians in Korea, and I think thanks to many people in the past, it's easier for us Koreans to have more concert career outside from Korea, like in Europe and anywhere else too. So I think it's great to have such concert pianists or concert violinists, like musicians who are traveling all over the world also together. It's not like one person doing everything, but when there are many different many musicians, then there will be a lot more for the young generation after. So I guess good thing to have this kind of phenomenon in a way.
I want to know, when you are done with a performance, do you feel relief rushing over through your body, or do you have regrets, or what are the feelings that go through your mind?
everything. I do have regrets, but you know, without regrets, you cannot move on, and also you cannot improve. So I have all of them, but you know, I try not to be just let down, and the thing that I would do better next time, you know, I try to, after the concert, I would remember those spots, and then for the next concert, I'll be during the rehearsal mostly working on those first, and then do the rest later. So every concert, you know, hopefully you will be improving every day, after each concert. I think that's.
I see. Now you'll be performing under the baton of legendary conductor Valery Gergiev in November, I believe. Tell us about some of your future plans.
The concert is on the 22nd of November. I'm playing Prokofiev Third Concerto with Munich Philharmonic Orchestra and with Maestro Gergiev, and that's one of the concerts that I'm really looking forward to also, because you know, I've played many concertos, but Prokofiev concerto I haven't played before, and just this past July I played for the first time in Napa Valley, and I think it kind of suits me well. I'm pretty sure it will. Maestro Gergiev, he's just incredible musician, and he brings so much passion and all kinds of emotions from the music. So it'll be an exciting concert, I'm sure. So I'm really, really looking forward to that concert. And that's at Sejong and Seongnam. So in November.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time. I wish you the best of luck in your future endeavors.
Thank you so much. It was great to be here. Thank you.
All right. Well, that was a long conversation I had with pianist SUNWOO Ye-kwon, who has a promising future ahead. I'm sure his integrity and truthfulness, like he said, in music will take him a long way in his solo career odyssey. That was our interview for this week. Do join us again next week for more. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.